What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode on the Relentless Life. I'm your host, Chance Galloway, and today with me is a dear friend of mine, Mrs. Sofia Blanno. And today we're going to be discussing the life of an entrepreneur. Sofia is a fellow young entrepreneur like myself, and I am super excited to have her on today. We're going to be discussing, many different things involving startups and her journey throughout Florida Gulf Coast University and her many leadership roles there. One including the president of the CEO club there with over 200 members, and she also has her own business. Many different businesses, many different ideas. And one of those is Best Dressed. Sofia, welcome to the Relentless Life. Thanks for being here today.
Hey, Chance. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And I hope you've been well, and I'm super excited.
Likewise. Yeah. So let's get started. Let's dive into a brief intro of who you are, what you represent, and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So, I'll start with my cultural heritage. I'm total mutt. My dad is an immigrant from Mexico. He's a citizen now, and my mom is from North Carolina. So I was actually born in Atlanta, Georgia. And I lived there throughout my childhood. I played competitive tennis as a young girl, and then I wanted to go pro. Didn't end up doing that. Ended up going to college. Ended up loving school, wanting an education. I went to Auburn my freshman year, and then I transferred to Florida Gulf Coast to play tennis there for the next 3.5 years. I'm like a 4.5 year senior. I graduated I changed my major about 4 times. So I found entrepreneurship at Florida Gulf Coast. I was a fashion design major at Auburn when I transferred, and I ended up just loving entrepreneurship. It allowed me to think about starting a business. It allowed me to use my skills and my gifts for fashion, for styling, and I actually ended up creating a subscription package company with a partner of mine. Actually, her name's Danielle Eglin, and she sat in class with me in my first entrepreneurship class when I came to FGCU. So that was neat. That was special. We're no longer partners, but we're still really good friends. So it was a great experience for me. I still run Best Dressed. It's I shifted it, a pivot. If anybody knows what a pivot is, probably all you guys. But it is now a boutique. And I'm looking to probably work in fashion when I move out of Florida, whenever that shall be. But right now I work in Naples. I work for an angel fund down in South Naples. It's called the Tamiami Angel Fund, and it's out of the Fifth Avenue family office.
Nice. What got you into that?
So this is a neat thing. It's a cool story. Tim Cartwright is the chairman of the funds, and he is very involved in Florida Gulf Coast. They have a student accelerator called the Runway Program that I've been in since I got to FGCU. I started my sophomore year in their accelerator, and I just won consecutive rounds of seed funding and kept pitching for my business. I love it. I love that university. I love their School of Entrepreneurship. When I started, it was a minor, and then it was a major, and now it's an entire school, and they're going to have their own building. I mean, the faculty there is phenomenal, and I couldn't say anything bad about them if I tried. They're great. So anyway, I met Tim Cartwright. He was an adjunct professor through them, and then he sat on the board of the final rounds of the entrepreneurship runway pitch competition. And so he was kind of on the deciding board that gave me funding a couple years and in a row, and I had stayed in touch with him. I had run a couple of business ideas by him, and when I graduated, I told him I was going through a pivot. COVID was happening. Shipping prices for my subscription package company, which already had small margins because it was made for millennials, went really high. And I just said, I don't know if this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. This kind of business, I really enjoy it, but I don't know if it's for me. And he said, come work with me. You're going to learn so much. I'm going to give you an MBA without you having to pay for it. You're going to not have to move very far right now. And it was such a blessing in disguise because I was bummed about my company, but I am learning so much there. And with COVID and everything, I wanted to move to a city. And right now I realize that I'm so glad I'm still here. And I'm learning so much from them. So that's kind of how I got involved in the Tamiami Angel Funds. It's a committed capital fund, and we invest in early stage startups.
No, that's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that, and how your mentor there had discussed that that's your kind of informal MBA. It's very interesting today with formal education, how our society thinks that's the the answer. And that's something that I wanted to talk to you today, being a former graduate and myself. We both went to college, and now we're both in the real world and we're living it practically. I'd like for you to discuss that difference there in formal education versus informal education, and just a lot of my listeners may be still in high school. They might be thinking about college, not knowing if that's the route for them. Should I take a tech school route? Should I maybe go into the military? Should I start my own business?
Right.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great that's just a great subject. I loved having an education, and I love college. I think I loved college because I had such a great experience with this entrepreneurship program. I feel like a lot of students come into college and they don't feel like they fit in. They don't feel like they find a major that they like soon enough. And again, I feel like it's never too late for anything. Like, I was a fashion design major, and then I came here, and then, the closest thing to fashion design was, I don't know, either journalism or business or marketing or public relations. And then I found entrepreneurship, and it opened the doors to so many possibilities. I think that, like, in regard to formal education, there's a lot of students, and this is what I loved about a university. And there's a lot of universities that are starting to implement this in their curriculum now, but they were hands-on. They were, if you don't learn this way, or if you're struggling to learn this way, I want to work with you. And you still got to get everything done. You still got to learn the material, but I want to know how you learn. If you have help, if you need help, come reach out to our professors. I think that that's a humongously important part, especially with formal education. And I've heard people say, it's not for everybody. College, why do you need college? You have YouTube. And I've heard people say the opposite. Like, if you want to create a business, you better go get your degree from college. If you didn't learn enough in your undergrad, you better go get a master's in, business finance or something. I think it really depends on the person, but I love college. The thing is it's the society we live in, to where if you want to go work in a corporate job, you pretty much have to have the degree that you need for some of those.
Sure.
But that's like medical degrees. That's like if you want to work in finance. But there's other areas, like if you want to start your own business, no, you don't necessarily have to go to college. And there's a lot of things online and just courses that you can take that'll help you with that. But I think that formal education is becoming more flexible, and I think that's so important. Like, there's a Harvard study that I read, actually, I think it was about a month ago, where they really were like changing the school systems, but not for college, for younger kids in like K through 12, where they basically had them just totally do hands-on things. Like, every test was this like intricate project, and they figured out that, like, I don't know, 70% of the students learned a lot better through hands-on. And so I do think that it's also a confidence killer, sometimes, that the standardized testing that formal education has. I don't think that we should get rid of it. And I think there are a lot of professions that require that, like, taking the MCAT to go to med school, or the LSAT, or things like that. But I think that for a lot of different degrees, they're changing, like, the A through D standardized testing to more like written answers, or, just there's certain majors you can be creative in, and they haven't been allowed. I remember I was a marketing minor, and a lot of those courses that I took in marketing, I was like, what are we doing? Like, have we done a campaign? And then when I started, I worked as a market research analyst for a company called StormSmart for about a year. Great company. The company actually just got acquired for about around $90 million. But the president and founder, Brian Rist, he's an amazing guy. And that company, I remember getting the job there, and the guy that I worked with, Jeff Cohen, I was looking over a marketing survey, and I was like, oh, it's called this, it's this type of survey. And he's like, okay, cool. It's like, okay, well, the name of the marketing survey, but do you know how to do it? And do you know how to apply it? And, so I think that's all part of the hands-on. That's so much more important. It's like, I had all those classes, and it was like, why don't we run a marketing campaign? Why are we taking tests on what the correct name of this is and name of that is, So I think that universities are starting to do that more. And I think that's so important, is to keep the structure of classes and the interaction with people, especially now during COVID and things like that. But to also be able to be like, this is how you learn. Okay, I'm not going to teach you how to think. I'm going to teach you how to learn and to do. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love what you just said there. That was perfect. And that's what I love about FGCU and the ETI and the runway program. And like yourself, I discovered that too, a couple years in. I was switching majors constantly, not knowing what route I wanted to pick. And I think that's the mindset of an entrepreneur, to be honest with you, Sophia. I think that's somebody who is constantly looking, for, someone that's open-minded, for an open route, for an open pathway, a new idea, a new perspective. And that's what the FGCU runway program and the ETI has to offer students. And it truly is, like, I'm so happy when I found out that Dr. K and the entire department is expanding the runway program and the entrepreneurship department into their own building. That like made my day when I found that out, because now they're going to have their own home, their own home for students they already did in the ETI, but now it's going to be part of the university. And I think that is just so crucial for student success and for the future generations of students to come in. Being creative we all have that, I believe, in us. And it's certain people that are creative, like the Elon Musks out there and the Steve Jobs, these people that have seriously, done great good for mankind, that have allowed us to have smartphones and drive a Tesla and explore space, and that's all from the mind of an entrepreneur. And it all starts, whether it's formal or informal education, it all starts with education. So I think that's something that's very exciting for the Fort Myers area with Florida Gulf Coast,
Yeah, exactly. And I think just the biggest takeaway, I guess, from my 10-minute spiel on that was that everybody's different.
Yeah.
So you can't just say, hey, Chance, all right, this is what you're going to do and this is how you're going to do it. And that's what really cuts down entrepreneurship, is from young ages we teach kids that this is how we're going to do it. You're going to do this and this is how you're going to do it. So then they're just like, oh, well, I was going to be creative on this one, but I guess this is how I have to do it. And so I think that that's really, really important. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurship schools are doing now.
Sure. Yeah. How would you define an entrepreneur, Sophia? Like, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, how would you define that?
I'm 24 years old. I'm going to steal the best thing I've ever heard from one of the smartest guys I know. He's a member in our fund. And he said, an entrepreneur, he's like, all these schools want me to come in and do a seminar or teach, just come in and talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur. And he's like, I really have one thing to say about that. He's like, it's you never give up. Like, you can't. And I like it. That's why I love your whole brand, honestly, because that feeds into a lot of areas of life. But he's like, you just can't give up. He's like, I pivoted probably he's like 5 or 6 times. And that's a nice word for completely falling flat on my face and having to restart from scratch.
Yeah.
He's like, that's what we call pivots,
Right.
And so, he said that, and I was like, gosh, you couldn't be more right. Like, everyone, they ask you, oh, how's your business going? Making a ton of money. And that's like, no, I'm working 3 jobs and I'm still trying to do my side hustle. And it's the reality of it, and especially these days with social media, I think it's kind of funny. It's like, when people ask me how I'm doing, I tell them how I'm doing, and they're like, "Oh," and it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you really not want to hear how I'm really doing?"
Right. Yeah.
I don't sleep, but
yeah,
I think it's important to realize that, and it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. The relentless life, the life of pivots, the life of not knowing where sometimes your next paycheck's going to come for, if you're going to be able to raise the next amount of money on your round, and things like that. It's definitely not for everybody, but it's so cool. And in this country, just to talk a second about America, in this country, free market, this is the best country in the world to be able to start a business, startup. And so it's just amazing. And that's what I love, how colleges are now teaching students how to do that. It's not like I could be an entrepreneur or I could go to college. It's like I could do both. But that's what I have to say entrepreneurship means to me. It's just it's giving, and I'm going to steal another thing from my chairman of the funds. He said, entrepreneurship is using your God-given talents in a way that shows who you are and to better the world. And whether it's styling people, which I'm not Mother Teresa because I just style people, but I love it, and it's my God-given gift, and so I want to use it, and I want to do it to the best of my abilities. I want to interact with people. I love people. And so then you have doctors who can do that, and you have, fitness trainers who can do that, and anything from your plumber to your Bill Gates.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're helping people, and you're using your God-given talents, and you're making the world a better place. So I think that probably for me, that would be what an entrepreneur does. And I think that just being relentless, never giving up is what it really means.
It comes down to, the nitty-gritty aspect of it. And that's what I love so much too about that word. That's why I fell in love with it and wanted to turn it into not just a brand or a t-shirt that I sell, but a lifestyle that I try to, you have a t-shirt of mine, and many other people do as well. And it's not about the t-shirt, I don't care about the money, but for me right now, it's about spreading a message to essentially live your best life. Right. And for a lot of people, that's being an entrepreneur, and you can't be an entrepreneur without being relentless,
right?
Without falling flat on your face. And as one of my other friends, Nika, I just had her on episode 50. She said, always fail forward. If you're going to fail, you're going to fail, but make sure you fail forward. You learn from that failure. You learn from those mistakes. We're all going to fail. It's part of this journey. It's part of the next step. It's part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what a lot of people don't think about and don't realize is, all those humongous companies, Amazon and Microsoft and Tesla, and they all started really small. They all pivoted so many times. I mean, you've got that picture of Jeff Bezos working in that random little office, and then a big old
office, 99, 22 years ago,
and
wild.
You can talk to anybody who's successful, and they're like, my first 2 startups were total. I was in a couple $1 million of debt, and so it's the reality of it.
It is,
but it's a cool thing. Yeah,
it is. It's very cool to be able to have your destiny in front of you, and it doesn't even matter how hard you work, you're gonna fail. But it's like, how hard are you willing to get up? It's like, I like to think of that movie Rocky.
Yeah.
When he's in round 14, David Goggins always explains it in his motivational videos. He says, I always fast forward to round 14 in that movie. And, that round 14 is the scene where he gets knocked down and he's getting back up. He's stumbling back up, and his opponent looks at him, and it's as if his soul left his body. That's how David Goggins explains it. And it's like, when somebody is that beat and that done, and they just keep pushing no matter what. They're at their breaking point. They've been beyond their breaking point, and they keep pushing. They keep getting up. I think that just it gives me goosebumps to think about,
Yeah. And, that makes total sense. I think that something that I've had a lot of friends who have maybe been through this or talked about this, but what I've seen a lot in college, at both universities, is kind of, some people have this quit culture. That it's like, they don't go very far. And for me, I've always been, especially with sports, I want all my kids to play sports, because I think there's nothing like sports. There's nothing like exercise. It's just, it allows you to push yourself in ways that you never knew you could be pushed. And sports allow yourself to compete in things you never thought you would win, or, you just push your body and you push your mind too. In the healthiest way. It's like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could do this. And so I think that in growing up, especially with my father, it was like, we don't quit. It was like we're not quitters. We don't quit. We don't know that word. And you know what? You may fall flat on your face, but you didn't quit.
Right. As long as you get back up.
Yeah. As long as you get back up, as long as you give your 100%, maybe you weren't good enough that day or smart enough that day, or there's a lot of people in this world that are going to be way smarter and better and quicker than you, but you're going to give 200%, and you're just not, you're not going to give 50. You're not going to give anything less. So I think that's what a lot of people don't have. And the people that do have it are the people that do succeed. And it's regardless of whether how smart they are or how talented they are. I think the people that succeed are really hard workers.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the people with not just the work ethic, but the mentality to be relentless. If it takes you 20 or 30 years, you will get there. You will make it to that final destination. There's people like you. I'm glad you mentioned that. There's people out there that are smarter, faster, stronger, whatever, better than you.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, because if you have that personality, that mentality, you will eventually catch those people, because most of those people are either arrogant or they're ignorant that they are the best. They're already there.
And
they don't realize.
The best thing I ever heard was one of the CEOs that I've seen speak. She just said, I've always surrounded myself with people that are so much smarter than me. And she's like, it's the only way, because how could I do any of this by myself? How could I learn? You never want to be a big fish in a small pond. You don't, because you're never going to grow. And so that's, I think, a lot of people, it's a pride thing. They want to be the smartest, or they want to be the best. And it's like, you're never going to be successful if you're never challenging yourself, if you're never growing, if you just want to be the smartest, or could be the smartest, the prettiest, the most best dressed in the room. You're never going to, you got to go into the big pond, and you got to take a few hits by the people that are older and smarter than you. And that just molds you. If you're tough, that'll mold you into a really good either entrepreneur or intrapreneur or business person. Mother, wife, sister, brother, family member, just anything that you want to be in this world. I think that's really important, to surround yourself with people that are better than you at all of those things.
Yeah. One person I think of is my dad. He's got 42 employees around him that are great in their own way. He wouldn't be the man he is. He wouldn't have, him and my mom, they wouldn't have the success that they have in Galloway Roofing without the people around them, without recruiting people that work extremely hard every day for 10 to 12 hours a day each in the sun, and they're working their butt off, turning jobs. And, because of that, because of all of these people around us, we all are elevated to that next level,
Exactly.
And that's something that I'm able to see every day when I walk into the shop, when I walk into my office is, I see the guys come in to get their work orders. I see our supervisors come in and grab their permit packs. And it's like, it's a full operation that goes on every single day. It's nonstop. And it all started with my dad in his dining room 9 years ago. Just him swinging a hammer on the roof, and my mom was helping him out with scheduling. And it's, after 9 years, it's like, wow. Yeah. Just like that, it's like an overnight success, but it's not an overnight success.
No, you look back.
70, 80, 90-hour weeks,
Yeah, I mean, that's like my dad didn't speak a word English. Cool. Yeah, he didn't speak a word English. He came here, he played college tennis. He met my mom. He started his own business for a while. He worked under a company, and then he started his own financial planning and advising firm. And it's like, the reality of it is he was working in a furniture shop for a long time, trying to get through school. He didn't speak one word of English. He wasn't the best player on his team. He was team captain. And he was like, why? I'm not the best player here. And his coach was like, you're so motivating. You're doing the right things. The whole team loves you. Like, you're a good guy. You're like, brother to them and a friend. And it's like, you just got to go there, and you just got to make whatever situation you have work. You got to go. And I think the thing is looking for opportunities. Another really great thing that I've heard that really has like stayed in my heart is like, entrepreneurs don't have good ideas when things are going well. They have good ideas when things are falling apart. And, there were a lot of cool businesses that started out of that last recession in 2008. And the founder of stamps.com, I listened to him once, and he was like, he just had said, I don't think that I would have ever come up with any good idea if my life hadn't been in like total turmoil and chaos. He's like, I sat in all of it. I sat back. He's like, I closed my eyes. And one day I just I thought about like things, and he's like, and I came up with this one idea, and it was really simple. And then, it's like a multi-million-dollar business. Yeah. So, it's about a
set of circumstances. Sometimes it sets an entrepreneur up,
everything happens for a reason. It's about seeing the light and the difficult times also. And I would like to shout out one entrepreneurship professor at the Institute that also just kind of used this in more like plain exercise. She was like, entrepreneurs solve problems. They don't just solve problems. They solve really like headache problems. She's like, and it's easy to find them because do you have friends? Do you have friends that complain? Do you complain? And so she said, we're going to do a little exercise here. It's a little unhealthy, a little healthy. We're just going to complain. And she's like, who's got a complaint? And nobody raised their hand. Like nobody in that
class. I think I know who you're talking about.
Sorry?
And I think I know who you're talking about.
And so her name's Annie Stout.
Yeah.
And she's just like, nobody has a complaint. And that is the class that I like found my purpose in. And I was like, okay, if no one has a complaint, I mean, let's be real here. I've got like 50. And she's like, all right, you. Okay, Sophia, is that your name? And I was like, yep. It was like maybe the second week of class. And I was like, yeah.
Of course.
And I was like, okay, like I herniated a disc in my back. I'm off the tennis court right now. I'm on these steroids to try and heal it. And I'm hungry and I'm tired. And all I want to do is work out and I can't. And I was like, and I want to eat that entire box of donuts that you brought in this morning. And the whole class was like, do it. And she was like, do it. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And so I just that I love professors. And I think it's so important for students to get connected to their professors. I'm going a little bit off on a tangent, but
I'm glad you brought that up.
I just like, that is the way to find, issues and solve them. And it's by connecting with people. And it may not be my problem, but it may be the person next to me who's really suffering. And I'm like, hey, I have an idea for you. Like, let's try this. And that's how ideas start.
Yeah. And once you start to verbalize it, an idea is only an idea in your mind until you communicate it out to the world and to other people. Because once you bring it to fruition and you're around other people, they can feed off of that idea, and they might say something that wasn't even in your head originally that you might be like, oh my gosh, light bulb, ding.
I remember that. I remember trying to start an application for your phone so badly because I wanted it to just be on your phone because nobody uses computers anymore. And I met a random guy at a networking event, and he was like, why don't you just do a website first? Like, you start generating revenue, you just do the website. And I was like, it's not cool. Like, everybody's on their apps. And he's like, do you know how much more expensive an app is than a website?
Yeah.
And he's like, and I was like, yeah, I know that.
I guess.
I was like, I guess. And then I was like, go home, and I was like, I'm making a website. Like, I'm trying all these. So, it's share your ideas with people. Okay. Maybe 1% of the time they're going to try to steal it. Let's be real. Share them and get feedback and share your, pass your business plan out to this person, and then this guy, and then this guy, and then your professor, and then your mother, and then just like have people tear it apart. I love the head doctor of our institute, Dr. Kauanui. I love her. She's so honest, but she's so like loving at the same time. And I was just like, can you please give me your honest opinion on this and that? And I don't care. Don't feel like
you need to be good with accepting constructive criticism. It's part of it.
The professors really I love the most. Yeah, the professors I loved the most were the ones that were like, "This is dumb." Yeah, and I'll tell you why, and I'll help you fix it.
Not a condescending way, because there's plenty of professors that are just putrid. Like, it's disgusting. Like my girlfriend, she just had a pretty terrible experience this past semester. Of course, I'm not going to name names, but just watching her experience and the rest of the students in the class, I was just like, that's a shame that there's professors like that out there. But then, I think of professors like Annie Stout and like Dr. K. And really, I didn't have one bad professor in the entrepreneurship program. I really thought that our professors were the best, and that could be biased, but I was a marketing minor. I was a health science major. I was in the other departments, and the ETI had just so much to offer with their staff. And I'm sure you can back that as well.
Even the bad professors, I think it's not enjoyable, but I think I've learned a lot, and maybe less academic and more just like about how you have to deal with people in the workplace. By dealing with bad professors and bad friends. It's like, that song High School Never Ends by Bowling for Soup. It's like high school never ends, then college never ends, then your work environment never. It's like everybody, like it doesn't go away. Like, there's always going to be people that are going to backstab you and try to tear you down. And if you don't,
that's life.
Yeah, if you don't close your computer when you go to the bathroom, going to send emails on it. Like, there's always going to be people like that. And you just have to figure out how to work with those people, how to work around those people, how to beat out those people for positions and things like that. But I would say it always comes down to integrity. Just have integrity.
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah, I love it. I love that university, and I learned so much from all the failings and all the bad things. And then there were so many good things. So
there really were.
You learn from all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you and I can kind of both see through that as well. You have your, the good professors, you got the not so good professors, but at the end of the day, whether you go to college or not, it is a great experience. The experience is what you make it, how involved do you want to get? How willing are you to make connections, And that's really what it comes down to, is just willingness to extend your arm out and meet new people, because with new people and new connections come new ideas and new opportunities and a new perspective, you
exactly.
know?
Yeah.
And that's just so important in the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. I think that's why I loved a college as diverse as Florida Gulf Coast.
It is very diverse.
And what I loved about it too, that goes all the way back to entrepreneurship. And it's a really good, not saying I have a really good point, but it's a really interesting thing to look at, because it's like at Auburn, a lot of the students weren't working. You know, their parents were fully paying for their college. They were just getting a degree. When I came down to FGCU, you had a lot of hustlers. You had a lot of grinders. You had a lot of kids that were commuters. You had a lot of kids that were part-time working, full-time working 1 or 2 jobs, trying to get their degree, paying for their college themselves. And then being an athlete, you have a bunch of athletes that are playing for scholarships. So
which is a job in itself.
Yeah, to see that, it was really cool. It was like, okay, there's not a lot of just like trust fund babies. And there's nothing against trust fund babies. A lot of those trust fund babies put their money toward good things, and investments. And so it just, but I love the fact that a lot of students I met were really young and were like doing it themselves. Working hard and started their own businesses already in college. And that was really cool to see that.
Yeah, it's inspiring. It's absolutely inspiring. Hey, what would you say if you had to name 3 must-haves for somebody with the idea, or somebody with a startup? What are 3 things that, whether they're young or old or middle age, it doesn't matter, that they should definitely have or look into having before starting a company?
Oh my gosh, I would definitely say it. You have to, again, have that totally relentless, not giving up spirit. If you're going to do any kind of startup, from small business to, you want to be the next Google. And I would say you got to have a team. You really have to have a team. Again, that team consists of a bunch of people that are smarter than you, and people in areas that you don't know how to do. And you have to be like, yourself has to be diversified, if that makes sense. Like, you have to be good at a little bit of everything, I think. And those things that you aren't, you just got to learn them. It's not like I'm going to start a business and I'm already good at, a little bit of all this. It's like, no, you'll learn. But at the end of the day, the ones that are succeed are the ones that take that team of people and are like, okay, you're doing this for me. Teach me a little bit. So, I can understand this at every board meeting and things like that. I think you got to be really diversified. I think the number 1 thing would be, you've got to be completely relentless. The number 2 thing would be, you have to have that great team of people that are so much more smart and capable than you. And that last thing is you really have to be able to adjust and pivot and learn and diversify yourself and culture yourself. As funny as it sounds, you have to, because there's always going to be curveballs, and there's always going to be a changing market. That's the one thing I never realized, is the first idea we had was a application that basically it used AR technology to scan your body and kind of do like this virtual try-on experience. And I realized that like it was way too expensive. It wasn't a small startup. It was like something that we'd have to go to venture capital for, and it was like I'm not ready for all that. Like, I don't know how to do that. And, and that's where I'm right now, learning it. And so, and that was a big thing. Tim was like, come on in here, meet people, ask them questions, always ask questions, learn, don't be embarrassed by your mistakes. They're going to get lesser and lesser and lesser. So that is one thing that, you just got to see the reality of that. You can't be like, I'm king of the world. No. So.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. So living relentlessly, having a team, grabbing a team of individuals that are going to be almost masters in their own field, their own way, and then you'll be able to learn and feed off of what they know. And then number 3 being
always just being able to adjust, and always being able to learn more, and just completely immerse yourself in it and get out every single bit that you can.
Yeah, adaptable.
Yeah,
adaptable to your environment.
That's a great word. It's just being totally adaptable constantly, because there's constant changes in the market. There's constant pivots. So
I love that. Well, what would you? So obviously with your new venture down in, you said in Naples, you're at a venture capitalist firm.
Yeah, so it's actually Fifth Avenue. Yeah, Fifth Avenue Family Office is what we're under, and they manage wealth.
Nice.
Yes, and then they manage multi-wealth clients that are Southwest Florida area mostly. And then We use the Tamiami Angel Funds as an investment vehicle for that.
Okay.
And basically what the funds is we're a committed capital fund. So basically what we do, can't really explain what I do in a sentence, so I'm going to make it quick, but I administer the fund. So basically I manage the deal flow. We onboard investors, and it's you join the fund, and so your money goes in as units into the fund. And what we do is we have companies apply to our deal flow, which is TamiamiAngels.com. So they apply, and then I screen the company a little bit. I pass it to a company screener, which is our fund is all member managed. So once I check to make sure they fit our criteria, I'll pass it to a screener. They'll screen the company, and then if they have a positive recommendation, we either say, okay, we're going to invite them to a selection committee meeting, or we're going to put them on a watch list, or we're going to reject the company for, A, B, and C. And then we invite them to a selection committee meeting. They present at the selection committee meeting. And then if the selection committee votes majority for them to move to a member meeting, we have a monthly member meeting where all of our membership meets, and then they have to have a 66% majority once they pitch to go through to the next round. So, or not to go through to the next round, to go through to diligence, which is then we put together a due diligence team, and we go into a real in-depth dive of the company, from financials to the market to competition. We talk to employees, we talk to executives in the C-suite, and just everything about the company. And then we decide whether we want to invest. The due diligence team creates a memorandum. I write that up, and then we decide what the terms of the deal we want are. Sometimes they're already set. Sometimes we negotiate them. We reach back out to the company, and then we invest in them through Tamiami Angel Funds. So it's cool. It's exciting. There's a lot of awesome companies I get to see daily with their business plans and all their details. It's really cool. It inspires you, and it makes you more creative. And then our investors are, they're incredible. They've been intrapreneurs, they've been entrepreneurs in all different industries. And so it's really cool to kind of just sit in on all the meetings and hear their conversations. They're really intelligent people.
No, I bet. That's really cool that you're in that atmosphere too. I'm excited for your future, with them, whether it's, the next year or however long you stay there. I think that's great that you're surrounding yourself with those kinds of people that are already there, and in business and in wealth, and that's great, Sophia. I'm very, very happy for your future success being down there.
Thanks.
I think that's a great area too, Naples. It
is. It's definitely, especially during the pandemic. It's been been great.
The economy is great. People are always wanting to go to Naples. It's like such a hot spot for tourism, and the economy is always great down there too.
It definitely is, and the fact that especially with COVID in cities and so many things being closed, there's always outdoor things to do, especially down in Florida. So I think we've been really blessed with being able to go for a run outside, or bring your weights outside, or just be able to go meet with people outdoors where there's a lot more nicer weather. And just, I feel like cities have been especially during the winter time. Now it's kind of getting towards summer, and we're in spring now, but it was difficult for a lot of people I knew that lived up in Manhattan and in Illinois. They've been just locked in for so long.
It's miserable.
Yeah. So it's definitely, we've been spoiled down in Florida. We really have. We have a great governor. He's kept the state open.
Oh my God, DeSantis! He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's kept the state open, and we're putting money back into our businesses. And we haven't. Everybody's been affected negatively, but our economy in Florida's been doing fairly well for all the circumstances.
Oh my God! Yeah. I just get worried that too many people are going to flock here, and not just they're not just going to get overpopulated, but their ideas might come in here, and I don't want them to ruin what we have going for us.
In a way, it's a good and it's a bad thing. It's going to become overpopulated, and in ways, all the people that are paying for those cities to stay open and all the people's taxes are paying for those cities, they're leaving now. So they're coming here, and it's going to get more crowded, but also you have a bunch of upside. Like the housing market down here is crazy. I have friends, they're real estate agents, and they're selling houses left and right. And they're like, oh my gosh, I love COVID. This is the best time I've ever had. And it's oh boy.
Let's see if they say that when the market takes a crash in a couple of years.
No, but guys,
it's not always like that.
Buy low, sell high. So right now people are buying and it's high. So, but anyway,
not a good time to buy.
No,
but
I bought right before the market started going up again. I bought my first house in December.
We were talking about that the other day, last couple weeks ago. Yeah.
So I got
that was a great time. Yeah, great time to buy.
It was not for the guy that sold me the house, but for me, it wasn't a good deal. He lost a lot of money. I got a pretty sweet deal. So
yeah, bad time to sell, great time to buy. And I bought last April too, so I was right in that same net.
Yeah, you were better than I was. Like April, March.
Oh my gosh,
interest rates were so low.
Yeah, they were. They still are, but yeah, it was definitely a good time.
Yeah. And that's just another thing is the cultural diversity down here. Not just at like Florida Gulf Coast down here. I loved it. I grew up in the South. And so I loved the South. But there just wasn't like a bunch of different people from like all different, areas of life. And so I loved coming down here and seeing a university with so many different cultures.
I like that too. Yeah.
I thought it was so cool. Yeah, I thought it was so much fun. And that's, again, that was a lot of inspiration behind Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. And how that was kind of like born was my first year at FGCU, I was a sophomore, and I started going to these club meetings again with my business partner. And it was called the Business and Entrepreneurship Club, and it had maybe like 5 people in it. And so we would go and we'd eat the food and we would talk a little bit to the president of the club, and she was really cool. And she ended up graduating the following year, and I had become that second semester secretary. So I was just a member first semester, secretary first semester, and then I became president that following year when she left. Dr. K had just said, you seem like you're really interested in this club. I want to change it. There's an organization. It's an international organization called the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. And it's basically a community of entrepreneurs that come together to seek opportunities and launch businesses. And she was like, I want you to kind of lead that. And I want you to start a chapter at FGCU. And so I was like, well, that sounds cool. Yeah. So I got connected with the headquarters and we got what we needed to start the chapter here. And then I just remember we used to beg students to come. We used to bribe them with food. We'd have like maybe 10 students there the first semester. Yeah. And then when I left, we had 200 students in the club, and we had these amazing speakers. From the first female engineer for Ford Motors.
Ronnie Gupta. I had her on the podcast. She was awesome.
Yeah, to one of the best, My Shower Door, one of the best shower door companies in the United States. One of the best, we have Brian Riss with Storm Smart. The man who just sold his company that I work for is actually the Smart Company, is what Storm Smart's under. He came and spoke. We had the ex-president of McDonald's come and speak. And so it was just, anywhere from them to the local startup deli down the street that the FGC students love. So it was this great mix of amazing entrepreneurs that would come and speak about all their experiences once a week. And then the students, we do pitch competitions, we do workshops. And I had, when I started, I had maybe like 3 members of my executive board. And when I left, I had 12. And again, just surrounding yourself with people that knew how to do so many things you didn't. And they were students. Like we were all young, but they were so creative. And they were so just people oriented. And I loved just trying to delegate and then just being a part of a little bit of all that with everybody. So it was amazing. And that was just a little bit about the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. And it's still at FGCU.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was definitely going to have you talk a little bit about that. And I was part of that club at one point.
You were.
I was there for a lot of the guest speakers, and I invited a few of those guest speakers onto my show. Joe Nugent being another one of those. He was awesome.
That's great.
There were some really cool people that you had brought in, and you should really be proud of yourself. I'm sure you are, but you should really be proud of yourself for that, for building it from ground zero to 200 members with 12 people on the board and all of these awesome leadership oriented entrepreneurial mindset individuals who came in and were able to, share their experience, their 20, 30, 40, 50 year experience of life with the students. And I think that was just so beneficial. Who wouldn't want to be part of an organization that offers that to their members,
Oh, it was like the absolute best.
Plus you had food. You can't beat food.
Yeah, guys, we had Costco pizza.
you always had food.
Yeah, it was absolutely great. It was a great experience. And I just remember taping so many flyers to all the doors and windows of the university. I got in so much trouble. But I think
that's
that
part of it, though. You gotta break the rules. You gotta bend the rules sometimes.
Yeah, and I just the part about that we spoke about earlier about entrepreneurship and just using your God-given talents and connecting with people and solving problems in the world, like one teeny tiny person at a time. There was a girl, and she used to come to our club, and it was her first year in college, and she would come. She started coming like maybe once like a month, and then she started coming almost every week. And she came to our end of the year party, and she said, "Can I talk to you?" And so I kind of came over in the corner with her, and I was like, "What's going on?" And she was like, "I just want to let you know that like I'm really struggling in college, and I wanted to drop out, and I just don't feel smart. I don't feel like I fit in, and this club is like the reason I've stayed, and I'm not gonna drop out." Yeah, she said, "I love your entire executive board. I love the people that they are. I've really connected with them. I love coming in here and listening to some of these amazing entrepreneurs every week. It really picks me up, and I really want to come back." And so it had been such a stressful year for me. I was trying to graduate, and I had all these things going on. I was trying to do my business. I was trying to do an internship. I was trying to do market research analyzing. I was trying to run CEO Club. I had 18 credits.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like that just made everything
go
by.
It made it worth
it. It made it so worth it. And she became she became my secretary my senior year. Way. And then when I graduated, she became the president of CEO Club.
How cool is that?
It's really cool. It's really cool. And so that is just like, why do you do all this stuff? Because we want to connect with people, and we want to.
You want to help change the world. One person at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting, and it's so fun, and you want to help people. So
yeah, and I think that's what you and I have in common the most, and people like us, is that we want to help people. Yeah. I know that every day I wake up, I know I have to go to work, and it might not be what I want to do, but I'm helping my family. But when I'm off work and when on the weekends, whenever I have time, when I'm driving around on my phone. Of course, not while driving, but stopped. I'm doing everything that I can to spread my message of living a relentless life and spreading awareness of my book. And not just because it's my book, but it's because it's what I believe in, and with what you do, it's you spread what you believe in, and you do it because you want to help lead other people, who need leading, who need guidance, because there's so many people out there that are just plain out lost. Right. There's so many people that are lost,
Yeah, and there's a phase of life for everything.
It's part of it.
Yeah, there's struggles. Remember those 5 years when I had that job I hated, and I wouldn't be here without that. I could have been there for 4 years and I wouldn't be here, but I stayed there exactly that amount of time, and this is where it brought me. So don't dwell on anything in the past. If you don't like your situation, change it and work hard. Or if you're in the situation you're in, work hard, and you'll learn something really, really valuable. So I think that's so important. People are always like, I don't like where I am. I want to leave. I want to do something else. Like me. I'm upset. It's like, I've always been the type of person that is trying, because this is very hard, but try to, even if you don't like where you are and what's going on, you have to make the best of it.
Put a smile on your face.
You don't have to stay in that situation the entire time, but sometimes it's always been like, when someone tells you can't, you're exactly the same way. So I know you're going to resonate with this.
Sure.
And those are the successful people. When someone tells you can't do something, even if you want to leave, you're like, I'm going to show them I can. I'm going to learn this, and I'm going to do it, even though I don't even really want to. But like, I feel like I've just been challenged, and I want to succeed. Like, I want to conquer it. I want to prove them wrong, and like a nice way,
not like nature.
Yeah, not like I'm going to cut you back, but like, no, it's like, you don't think I can do this. I think I can do this. Like, I'm going to do it. And then you're going to see, and you're going to be like, wow, you did that. I'm really impressed. And so that's entrepreneurship. It's like,
it is.
This is just falling apart, but I'm going to fix this because I'm an entrepreneur and I know how to fix this. So, but anyway.
No, I love that. I really do. And I know you and I could talk all night long if we really wanted to. Yeah. But I do want to ask my final question this evening, and that is, you kind of answered it earlier. We did discuss the word relentless, and we did discuss what it means to be relentless. But if you could just sum it up, I want the listeners to hear your point of view on that word relentless, because you certainly are. That's why I wanted to have you on my show so badly. You certainly are such a phenomenal example of somebody who is relentless. No, thanks, seriously, Jess. And you should pat yourself on the back for that. And it's a privilege having you on the show. But I would like for you to define that word, relentless.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I love your brand, and I've already said that, but I just do because I just feel very strongly about the fact that this life is relentless. Every day you got to get up and you got to work hard. And, you know, a part of why I love this country and I love the culture I came from is like having family from Mexico. There's an American dream. And I think that a lot of people, especially our age, don't realize how privileged we are and don't take advantage of all the opportunities that we have from our families, from our life, you know, from our middle class standing too. It's a lot of, you know, so I just feel like relentless is every single day you've got to take up your beliefs. You've got to take up who you are, and you've got to go out there and you've got to give it 100%. You've got to give it more. You've got to give it 100% and more. And those days where you feel like you have less and you just don't have it, you just got to do it.
Do your best.
Yeah. And, you know, and I think that we focus so much on, like success, like what does success look like to you? What is this? Yeah. And it's like I want to feel like I'm doing what I was made to do. And that just goes back to our God-given talents. Like it's not like, oh, I want people to see me as this, or I want to have success, or I want to feel like, you know, that it's like, I want to go and do what I feel like I was created to do and fix people's lives, or just because that is going to bring you ultimate joy, not what other people think of you. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so I just feel like relentless to me is, I mean, it's never giving up. It's getting out there and being who you are and not afraid to be it. And really just working hard and sharing your gifts with other people. I think I think people shouldn't be selfish. I am all the time. That's one thing this year that, like 2021, I was like, I don't want to be selfish. You know, and just working with people, connecting with the humans in this world, and really just, I would just say your gifts, you know, using those gifts and never giving up. I mean, if you think of the word relentless, you just think of like, I'm never going to stop. Like, I'm never going to give up. And those people that have those dreams and have those goals and aspirations, and they're like, yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. If you tell me no, I'm going to go right next door and I'm going to go do the same thing. Or I'm going to figure it out. Like, you got to figure it out, because you can't just say, oh, this didn't work out. Poor me. It's over. Because it really never is.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, I love the saying that when God closes a door, he opens another one. And he opens a window. And I think when God closes a door, he opens 5 windows. And it just depends on the one you climb out of. Yeah. And so, I would just say that I love your brand. And I would just say that don't ever give up, guys.
Thank you.
You know, people don't believe it when people say it. But it's like, really, you just can't. Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and I really appreciate your perspective on that. Every time I bring somebody on, I learn something new about that word. It obviously it has its own meaning to me. It has its own meaning to you. But every time I hear somebody else's perspective, a guest on the show's perspective, it's just it fills up my tank just a little bit more, and it reminds me, you know, now that I'm doing a podcast per week. I wasn't doing a podcast per week. I actually took a sabbatical for about a year and a half. But now that I'm doing it, my tank is almost becoming a little bit more full every week. You know, we're sharing these ideas, you know, reverting back to the beginning of this episode when we were talking about entrepreneurship and sharing ideas with other people and connecting. It furthers to fill up my tank and reminds me of what that word truly means, you know, and it's not giving up, and it's just continuing to push and use our God-given gifts. I love how you used that term. You know, we are so privileged, especially us in middle class. It doesn't matter your social status, where you're at in your environment, your family prediction, where you're at there. It doesn't matter. What matters is the gift of life. You have opportunity with this gift of life.
Yeah.
If you can hear us speak, if you can breathe, if you're alive, you have opportunity. Yeah. You've got more opportunity than anybody.
I mean, it blows some people's mind, but every breath you take is a gift. Every minute you're still here is. And I think that we forget that a lot. And I think what's just great about your podcast, about me knowing you through college, CEO Club, Best Dress, college in general, is the connection you get with people. And I think that this year, I'm not climbing up on a soapbox, but this year we've really lost human connection. There's a lot of corporate corporations. Did I just say corporate corporations? I was going to say corporate universities, and then I realized it didn't make any sense. But there's a lot of, in the corporate world, there's a lot of companies that are closing down, and people are working home for permanently. So I just think it is really sad. And I think that what people need is human connection and encouraging each other. Like if you get in your local community of entrepreneurs, if you go to networking events, if you get back in touch with the people that you graduated college from, if you go join a university that has a major like this and has programs like the Runway program and CEO Club in the College of Entrepreneurship.
Oh my gosh.
I just remember all of us being able to come into that building. It's a new building now, but it used to be called the Emergent Technologies Institute. And just being able to sit down next to one of your friends that day and just be like, hey, I just did this. Can you look at this, or can you give me your feedback? I love that. I love that so much, that everybody was kind of a really big family. And that is what makes you love college. It's the people. Because if you think about it, universities aren't that different. Classes aren't that different. It's the people that really touch your heart in all the different areas, in classrooms and clubs and networking events and all that. So it's the people in the community. I love that you're back doing this, Chance. And I'm blessed and very happy that you wanted me to come on and just talk a little bit about my experience with being a young.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It really has been a pleasure. And one more thing I wanted to touch on that last note, because like I said, we can go on and on. But one thing I got from that is, like, if you look back, I've been studying like ancestral nutrition and animal-based nutrition. I'm not going to get into that. But one thing with eating nose to tail and studying our ancestors and the way that they lived was they lived as a tribe. And that part of why they were so, healthy back then was because they shared connection, mutual connection all of the time with their tribe. They each had a role in their tribe. And this is something now, especially with COVID, even before COVID, with technology emerging and, being on our cell phones and all these apps and all these different features that we have, we started losing connection to each other as people, as our tribe. And unfortunately, COVID squashed that for a lot of people. And for me, even being back in Port Charlotte, being in my hometown, I love my hometown. I love my job. I love my family. I love the people here. I do significantly miss my tribe in Fort Myers, my tribe at FGCU. I don't have those like-minded people here. I just don't. There's very, few here. People like you and so many others at FGCU in the Fort Myers area. Sometimes I find myself a little bit depressed. Like, man, I really miss it down there. I miss those people.
Yeah, you got to find your clique. And I think
you do.
Yeah.
You do.
And this kind of, I guess this kind of feeds into the closing, but just a little bit more about me. I love my friends, and I love how creative my friends are. And I met them all through the Institute of Entrepreneurship. And I think that's why when I leave Florida, which hopefully won't be soon, but it'll be hard because I started actually a podcast with a friend of mine, Ashley DeBoer. She's my co-founder of the Travel Brats. And we were so smart, guys. We started a travel podcast like a month before COVID hit the United States really hard. And we were like, wow. But we came back in January, and my business was going through a huge pivot. I just graduated college. She'd just come back from the Peace Corps. And both of us were like in one of those lower points. We were like, what's next? I kind of feel kind of low. I kind of feel kind of dumb. And I just I don't know what's next. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life, career-wise. And she said, so if we've always been creative, there have been times where I came on the team with Best Dressed and did a bunch of things with you, and where you came onto my blog. And so she's like, we should come up with something creative to do together, even if it's just a hobby or something fun. And we started Travel Brats, and we've done over 60 episodes. We have all these little travel brats that we've connected with through social media during COVID, and we are absolutely loving it. And we've adapted to the fact that you can't travel, from music playlists when you're road tripping to the actual restaurants that are still open to, okay, let's make itineraries for all these cool places so you can start planning when you get out of this total quarantine. So, that's about the light and the darkness. That's about connecting with people from all different areas of life and just sharing ideas and trying to stay connected. There would be nights where we're like, okay, this person can't meet with us in person. Okay, are we going to do Zoom? Are we going to do Squadcast? Are we going to try and record them outside of this or that? And so it's making it work, and it's the relentless life. So
yeah. Pivoting, as you said earlier.
Yeah, pivoting.
Learning when to pivot. I love that. Sophia, where can the listeners of the Relentless Life find you? Where can we learn more about you?
Guys, I'm all over the place. I'm a mess. You guys can find me. My social media, my Instagram is Sofia, Sofia 4 times. And then I've got a Facebook, Sofia Blanno. Yeah, right. Ain't that funny?
Cool.
It's been that since I made it in high school, and I'll never change it. Yeah, and then my boutique is Shop Best Dress. So we've got a website, we've got Facebook, and we're just Shop Best Dress on Instagram. Same thing. The Travel Brats is just the Travel Brats. Travel Brats website, Travel Brats on Instagram, the Travel Brats on Facebook. So those are kind of what I'm up to, and you guys can find me. You can connect with me if you want to come on. I know Chance is going to come on our podcast. I'm really excited for that.
That would be awesome.
And then if you guys want to come connect with us, message us through our website. Shoot me an email if you guys want discounts on any spring and summer stuff. Just DM me or shoot me an email. So thanks so much again, Chance, for letting me come on.
Of course. And I know we didn't talk much about Shop or about Best Dressed on today's episode, but I will put a little bit about that in your bio in the show notes. I'll explain it because that's like a highlight of you. You obviously have so many highlights of what you've done in your young career. But I think that's just such a big part of who you are. Like when I think of Sophia, I think of Best Dressed. It's like
it definitely
is. You are Best Dressed.
Thanks, Chance. It's been my staple. And just to throw out pivots one more time, it was a application that we were developing to scan your body and fit clothing on and connect you to stores. Then it turned into a subscription package company that we ran for about 2 years. We styled people. We let them rent the clothing, and then we let them keep items they liked, and we had different subscriptions. And then now it's a boutique, and I love it, and it allows me to be creative and wear a lot of new clothes all the time. And if people say, hey, I like that shirt, I pop up my website and give them a discount. So I love it. It's my creative outlet, and it's, I think, again, my God-given gift is all I know how to do is be best dressed. And so I remember walking into multiple rooms, and anytime anybody would be like, hey, I like that headband, or I like that shirt, I'd be like, Shop Best Dressed? Shop Best Dressed?
Yeah. And for those of you guys just listening, Sophia, she always has she's always dressed very nicely. And it's like, you'll never see anybody dressed the way Sophia does. Like it's always color coordinated. Everything's always like to the highest fleek. Like it's awesome. It really is. There you go. Cheetah from your headband all the way to your heels. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wishing I was a little cuter for this episode. I was like, does he do video? Oh, I'm sure he does video. But
I just started to recently, but I think it's a great addition.
Yeah, I love it.
But anyway, Sophia, it's been great. I really appreciate your time tonight. It's we'll have to do it again soon, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to coming on to your show and discussing a bit more. We'll talk.
Sure. Yeah. So, thanks, Chance. And thanks everybody who's going to listen to this. Connect with me. Love you guys.
Yes. Follow her, Sofia Blanno. Thank you guys so much. Thanks. Make sure to live relentlessly. Let's go, baby.
Oh yeah. Don't give up.